want to check on my Twitter that it's actually coming up. Live stream. Perfect. Okay, cool. I am going to be demoing the CoinGecko hackathon right now. If you guys check here, we'll go to Twitter and we'll look at the submission that we're going to be doing. It's an MCP hackathon that allows you to use the MCP server and then come up with a cool idea in order to use the API in order to create something great in using their MCP server. So that's what we're going to do right now. And I spent a bit of time just prepping for this a little bit. We are going to show you what we currently have. And everything's going to be done inside of like Claude Code right now. So you can see Claude Code has access to a bunch of tools. Web Search Drive, CoinGecko's Civic, and I'm going to just remove this tool, and I'm going to show you what we currently have set up. So if I disconnect here, you can see that I've got nothing set up here, but we want to go and add our own MCP server that has access to CoinGecko's API as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a library that our CTO created, and it's called MCP.civic. And this basically goes through the steps of creating a secure MCP server in 15 minutes. So I'm going to leverage this library that we created. There's an open source library here. And this allows you to use the features in order to protect your MCP server. So I'm going to assume that people that are joining this are familiar with MCP servers and how to protect them. Or not necessarily how to protect them, but how to create an MCP server and then use it and connect it to Claude. So I'm going to just kind of also talk through like Auth and how Claude Code connects to your Auth server and determines whether or not to do the Auth dance and how it requests access and goes through the whole idea of doing that. So I want to just show you that as well. So before I go there, okay, I've got auth.civic.com here. That's our place where you go to the dashboard to get your dashboard ID, but I just want to clear the site data so I can show you the flow from Claude's point of view. So if I go to cursor here, I've got this project running, which is basically just a fork of that repo, that example that I just showed you, creating the auth in 15 minutes. And it is running on localhost 3000. And it's being port 3000 is being exposed via ngrok. And the reason I'm doing that is because Claude Code won't connect and do the whole Auth dance if it's not using a secure connection. So that's what I'm going to show you, just going through the whole flow, and then we'll kind of go through this quickly and show you exactly what I'm doing. So you can see here, I've got this current URL here. I'm just going to take that, and I'm going to go to Claude Code, and I'm going to go add a custom connector. And this is basically saying I want to add an MCP server to my Claude instance. And I'm going to call this Civic CoinGecko hackathon. Okay, so let's add that. Okay, cool. Sorry, I had already a connector there, so I'm just going to remove that. Add a custom connector. Civic Auth hackathon CoinGecko. Cool. So now it's told me that I need to connect it. And what does that specifically mean here? If you connected an MCP server that didn't require auth, you wouldn't have this button. Your tools would automatically display. So if I come into here, new chat, you'll see here, I don't have, even though I've added that connector, it's not available here. And that is because it requires authentication. And you can actually see that that's happening here. It got a 401 when it tried to access our server, which means Claude knows that it requires a secure connection in order to create it. So without further ado, let's do that. Let's go back to manage connectors, and I'm going to go connect. And you'll see here, it's asking me to log in. And once I've logged in, it comes back to Claude to show me that I've authorized access to this local MCP server I'm running. And you should see that I have access to these tools. So to give you just a little bit of context, CoinGecko is this MCP server that has all these API URLs available, all these things that you can do. You can ask it about, like, what's the top trending coins, what are the current top trending NFTs, how everything's specifically working. And you can have access to that without an API key. But if you want the pro mode, you have to provide an API key. So that's why I wrapped the CoinGecko's MCP server behind Civic Auth's MCP library. That means that you have to authenticate before you have access to CoinGecko's tools. So that's why you didn't see them immediately showed up. I had to go through the whole OAuth dance in order to do that. And it's really, really interesting. And we're going to put an article about how this works, how Claude talks to our auth server to determine whether or not it needs to do authorization, runs through that whole process, like dynamic client registration, all of that. I don't want to get too much into that, but the idea is that Claude Code will do all of, Claude Desktop will do all of that for you. And you can see the actual OAuth dance happening here. It actually ran out of it showed you the token registration, the client registration. But you can see now it's no longer returning back a 401, which means that it's authenticated, which means that I have access to my tools. So let's just go around and play, right? So can you tell me about the top trending coins right now? Now Claude's going to infer from its tool usage that it can actually use those tools in order to get that up-to-date information. So you can see it's making a request to CoinGecko here, which is our MCP server. It's proxying to the CoinGecko's MCP server, and it gets a list of all the cool coins that are ranked right now. And you can actually say, like, put this into an artifact for us, which means it'll just create like a nice little UI to show the top trending coins. And then you can share this with people, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, that's all we're doing. So all we're doing is we're authenticating to our MCP server and we're proxying that through CoinGecko's MCP server. It gives us access to all their tools. But what we really want to do is create a submission for this hackathon. And how we're going to do that. I came up with like a cool idea. I thought maybe I was going to do this like prediction market where people could like get some sort of credits every day and then vote on the coins that they think are top performing. Obviously they're fictitious, not money related. And then you could just play a game with your friends on like determining what's the most top coin. But then I thought, like, like that's not something I'm going to use. So let me build something that I would use. And I'm not a heavily investor in crypto, but I mean, I do have some NFTs. And I'm constantly going to Tensor.trade to like check which ones are doing. They're not doing great, but I own some NFTs here. I own a Mad Lad, Kano, and a bear. Where's the bear here? Okay, bear, yeah. Actually, one that okay bear. So anyway, instead of coming here, like I thought it'd be really cool if I could do everything through Claude, right? Like I could say, what are my top, this is my portfolio, this is my watch list. Then I can actually ask Claude, can you recommend any coins or NFTs that I should be interested in and trade with? Just add it to a watch list. And then a personal portfolio, coins that I can say, okay, how are they doing without me going through TensorTrade? TensorTrade and looking at all the individual coins and determining which ones are relevant to me. I can just add a watch list directly inside Claude, and then every day I can say, oh, how are my coins doing today? And just get information about it. And then I can even ask Claude, because it's got access to CoinGecko's API, like, are there any NFTs I should be watching? Should I be selling? What do you think? Do research. It's got access to all this information inside of Claude here. So you can see that it actually did all of that for us, which is cool. So you could share this with someone and they could add it and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, let's go and create a spec for that. We'll go back to Claude here and we'll start a new chat. And we'll say that everything that I just described to you, we'll tell Claude and we'll ask it to create a spec for us. And then we're going to copy that into Cursor and we're going to build it out. And hopefully have something at the end, right? Okay, so I'm going to say I want to add a watch list I'm going to build an MCP server that has a set of tools, one that keeps track of a portfolio, and one of coins that I would like to keep track of, or the ones that I'm interested in. So I want you to create a simple spec of the different MCP endpoints that we're going to be using, and using the CoinGecko API, determine which ones we will be able to do. So, for example, a user should be able to be in Claude and go add NFT to watch list, and it will add that NFT to that watch list. It can remove an NFT from that watch list. It can add notes about the latest information on that NFT watch list, and a user can make their watch list public. The reason I want to make the watch list public, which means is if I know the username, I can request whether or not I want to see someone's watch list and determine like, okay, what are they watching? What are they keeping track of? And you can just share it with your friends. So this is going to just basically be a portfolio tracker and coins that I'm interested in. But I thought we could be able to get it down and it'd be kind of useful. So I'm going to just say, I want you to create a spec. We will use an in-memory database to start off with, but I basically just want something where I can save and retrieve my watch list and view other people's watch list as well. So watch list can be active, can be private and public. What else was I going to add? Oh, yes. We are using Civic Auth, so we have access to the user's email and ID. Yeah, let's just see what it comes up with. It's quite cool to ideate like this, and then once you've got a really good spec, we can talk through that. Okay, it's looking at the CoinGecko endpoints to understand what we can work with, which is quite cool. I'm just going to put this up here so I can see if there's any questions or anything that's come live. Okay, cool. Nothing yet. Okay, awesome. So it's creating the spec for us right now. And that's quite cool. I actually saw a really good tweet the other day that I thought I would share with you guys as well. And I just give you context because like a lot of the time when you're coding and you're like doing a spec out, you're waiting a lot of the time. And he says, yes, like I wrote code today 100%, AI wrote code 100% of the time. I spoke to AI for hours about designs and ideas. I shipped multiple massive commits to AX. AX is like an AI library, it's pretty cool. And had more time to ride my bike thinking this. And I think this is like relevant to like what's happening in the coding UI. You are like speaking to the LLM, it's doing its thing, and you've got this gap of time where you're just kind of like sitting and like waiting for it to respond. And I thought it was quite interesting and how people are spending like less time behind the computer and just thinking and ideating, but thinking about how they're going to talk to an LLM and how it's going to execute on its idea. And yeah, it's easy to get distracted as well. But yeah. Okay, so let's see what it's created for us. Oh my gosh, it's quite a lot. I was hoping for something a bit simpler. This MC server, user Civic Auth for user obligation. Okay, so we've got the user object. We've already got that. That's provided by Civic Auth, MCP. Okay, this watch list. So the one thing I really like to do, and I think the most important thing when you're working with these LLMs is just to define the interfaces and how the data is going to be flowing in and out of your application. So paying focus on like the data structures and the initial architecture. Civic's going to put out a blog post about like AI tips and tricks. And one of them is specifically this. Like the more time you spend around structuring your data, instead of trying to one-shot an app, the better and less frustrated you're going to be in the long run. So it's good to really spend time reviewing what it's outputted here and spending time how the data is going to be structured and flowing through the app. So we've got name description. Okay, can we have multiple watch lists? I don't really care, but I just want to see how it's done it. Okay, let's create a watch list. Okay, it doesn't really tell us if we can have multiple watch lists. I assume so. So it's a one too many there. The user is attached to, okay, user ID there. So that's a one too many there. Okay, cool. Coins and notes. Oh, okay. So those are the coins we're watching, and these are our notes. Okay, great. So I think it's done a pretty good time there. So we can create a watch list. We can retrieve all watch lists. We can get a watch list, update a watch list, delete it, get public information, add current reference watch list. Okay, awesome. This is great. This is great. This is great. Okay, I'm just going to copy this back. I'm not going to spend too much time. What is this cache entry though? Shouldn't really have to do that because it's going to be executing outside of that fact. Anyway, I'm going to copy this for now, and then I'm just going to create a spec in here. I'm going to paste this in. I'm going to say to cursor that I want you to implement this, but I want you to implement it step by step. And I wanted to create a to-do list of each of the steps, because we don't want to go and say implement this whole thing. We want to be able to say, okay, can you retrieve a watch list first? Can you create a watch list? And each of those steps you're going to test it through Claude, so don't implement everything. So I'm going to just kind of explain that to him. I want you to do the following as spec.md, but I don't want you to implement everything yet. I want you to create a to-do list where we can mark off as we complete each feature. This is for you and me, basically a state file. So it's just going to keep state of where we are in the process, state file of where we are in the process. I want specific pause points so I can test everything up to that specific point. And there's something else I was going to do now. I completely, oh yes. Before you go ahead and implement something, please confirm with me what you are about to do. Always plan before you implement. Okay. Let's go and have a conversation with our friend here. I've been using GPT-5 a little bit. It seems quite cool. Just for some reason, like when I'm using a different model besides Sonnet, it like doesn't. It tells me to go and change files instead of doing it automatically. So that, I don't feel like doing that. Okay, cool. So it's got these to-dos. I want to say, save these to-dos to a markdown file, and at each point we can mark them off and update the file. Okay, cool. So now we can go start implementing each of these features. You'll notice here, if I come to this app as well, we have MCP here. We've already got tools here, list tool, add to do, delete to do. So we're going to kind of leverage that. We're going to remove it, but basically that allows us to do things like that you would think is very similar to what we're doing now. I could say add a to do, because you can see if I come to the tools here, I have those tools already. Add a to do, delete to do. That's part of the tools that we exposed from our MCP server. So I've already got these. I'm just going to retrofit them to use our new like watch list and watching coins, for example. But I can show you how it's working and how it's stateful. So it's actually saving that information. Add a to-do to buy milk today. And then if I go to a brand new chat, it'll remember that to do. So that's basically going to be the concept of like what we are going to be doing, but we're just going to create a watch list. So if I go to a brand new chat now, I can say, what are my to-dos for today? So you can imagine that I'll say like, okay, what is my portfolio for today? What coins am I checking? Can you see how, can you use a CoinGecko's API in order to look at my watch list and determine how my coins are doing? Then I can add a note to it, and I can keep track of this like diary over time, and that's what I'm trying to do. So you can see it retrieve that to-do list by milk today. So that means that we're persisting data across different chats, and then we need to persist our watch list across different chats. Okay, cool. Clear each milestone, test checkpoints, visual progress, blah, blah, blah. For review, the file's not ready for use. Start with a specific task with a milestone 1. Yes, please start milestone 1. I don't even know what milestone 1 is, but let's just check. Implementation progress, milestone 1. Define TypeScript interfaces used. Perfect. Very, very nice. I like that. Create an in-memory database schema with maps and indexes specified. Implement basic database operations. This one I'm going to spend time with. I just want to see what the interface for that looks like, because we can easily switch out. We should be able to easily switch out an in-memory database for like a SQL database. But in order to iterate quickly, I'm just going to use an in-memory database. And then if we've got time at the end, we can do that. Add user management functions, create user from Civic Auth data. We don't really need that because we've already got that user object. If you go here, you can see that we've got this user here. So we don't really need to save the user. We can just use the ID or the sub from this, which is what we'll do. We're not going to create a separate table or database for specifically storing users. Nice, nice, nice. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. I think it's good that I don't know how many people on Twitter to make me nervous, you know. But here's back to my same point. It is just doing stuff. And what do you do between this time that it's doing stuff and waiting? Like this is where I kind of get distracted because I think I can do something else, and then I come back and do it. And like a lot of people are doing this, they're running like multiple agents at the same time, and I'm sure that works to some extent. I just can't get in the flow of doing that. I can maybe run 2 or 3 projects at the same time, or two to 3 different tasks, but not multiple, like 6 or 7 terminals running, doing different things. I like to keep track of what the LLM's doing. Okay, so let's see here. What did it do? It created the types. Let's review the types. These are probably exactly the types that we saw, and we didn't have any changes to that. I mean, this is a bit extensive for what I want. I'm going to tell it we don't want caching. Okay, we're going to kind of keep the types though, but we'll implement things separately. Okay, it's gone and implemented a lot of things that we don't necessarily need up front. But it's just the types. Let's go and see how it's actually implementing this way. So we've got the types, we've got the database. Okay, so it's just creating data structures up here. Okay, I should have said we can get the user type from here. So let's just actually tell the LLM we can do that. I'll wait for it to finish. Database service. Hit user and show user create watch list. Okay. it did a bit too much for my liking, but I'm just going to kind of keep it as it is. We don't need a separate table or structure for users, since we can retrieve a user using Civic Auth MCP, which is extracting it from the token. I'll just say, is there any benefit to storing the user? Great question. It's always telling me I have great questions, but anyway, you're absolutely right. Okay. Yeah, so simplicity. I really want something simple. I am actually live demoing at the moment, and I would like something to demo during this session. So let's keep it simple. Okay, cool. So the one thing we're going to do now is just implement our first tool. So it seems like it's created the database. It's done a lot for us. I'm not going to run through all that code, which is exactly the thing you shouldn't do, is have the LLM go and do a bunch of stuff that you're not going to review. But in case of time, because we are, what are we now? Okay, we got 30 minutes, 32 minutes exact. I'm not going to go and just tell it to do this exactly, but it's going to kind of keep the user definition simple. And then I just want to test. I want to test if we can retrieve a list, create a list, update a list, and then see if that persists across different chats. And then the cool thing is, like, we can leverage the CoinGecko's API anytime we retrieve our list to determine like what we should do. Like, is there anything we should watch? Maybe should we sell? And leverage the advice from the LLM to see whether or not what we should be doing. And I'm not sure how many people are familiar, but it's got really cool deep research. It's really nice. It'll do a bunch of research for you on behalf. So that's what I think we'll do at the end of this demo, is if we get everything working, is I want to be able to add my NFTs to this watch list. I want to go to a separate chat, retrieve that watch list. Then I want the LLM to do deep research on that watch list and add a note based on that deep research. I think we can get there. That'll be pretty cool. So then each day, like, we can come back and say, okay, what was the last research the LLM did for us? And then add our own specific notes anytime we do this. Okay. Core watchlist tools available. It hasn't. Okay, plus all good tools. Okay. Okay, but you need to expose the tools. Let's just have one tool to test if everything is working, possibly retrieving a watch list. And then I'm gonna point to this MCP server in case it has anything. Just give it context of how to expose those tools. Didn't even ask it to do that, but it did. It replaced those to-dos with our own MCP. Oh, it did all of them. Mad person. Okay. Without further ado, let's test. It's got a new thing here. So if we refresh, let's see what tools we have. Okay, we got 47, which is good. Get my watch lists. Great. Okay, so we've got just that single one. Retrieve my watch list. I'm gonna just say, go ahead and create the MCP endpoint for adding a coin or NFT to my watch list. The first one is Civic. Okay, cool. Nice. I mean, wow, okay. No issues. Let's ask it to do that. In the meantime, while it's doing that, I'm going to say, okay, great. I want you to go. Okay, let's wait for it to finish the next endpoint, because what I want to do in the next step is I wanted to go in and find out details about the Mad Lad NFT, figure out if it can structure all the data in such a way to add it to my watch list. And you'll see, if you look at our types here, it requires, okay, put it as a watch list coin. So I'm going to wonder if this is going to, if we need to change the structure to support NFTs as well. I don't know what target price is. I don't know if we need it. Okay. Create watch list. Okay. I want to create a watch list for tracking my latest Mad Lad NFT. You will. Let's see how far it gets. Let's see if I can figure out what it needs to do. And this is all based on, if you come here to create watch list, create a new crypto watch list. Okay, the description could be better. But it is defined, yeah. Name of the watch list, optional description. Oh, okay. We need to add, okay, add coin to watch list, yeah. That solves it. The ID, the coin ID. So it's going to need to create the watch list first, and then it's going to add that coin to that watch list. Okay, so you can see, which is really cool, man. Like, this is really interesting. It's going to find out about the banned NFT using the CoinGecko's API. It's getting a list of those NFTs. Okay, that isn't tracked by, it was tracked. Okay, so I found it. Awesome. Yep. Based on the collection details, 10,000, that's correct. Okay, great. Go ahead and create me a watch list. And then in the next chat turn, we will try add the NFT to the watch list. Did it not? Oh, okay, cool. You have to refresh because it added the new endpoint. You'll see now, get my watch list, create watch list. I'm just going to rerun this. Okay, so it's created the watch list. I don't want it to be Mad Lad's NFT tracker. I wanted it to be, anyway, add the Mad Lad to the NFT watch list. So, I mean, like I don't know if we've created an endpoint to update a watch list, but I would like to have changed that name. It did. It added it. Like, what did it pass? Okay, symbol inbound, sound of basics, NFT collection, floor price checking. Okay, cool. Let's rename this. Let's go to that. Let's see. Can you retrieve my latest watch list? Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Okay, that's working. Nice. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to be able to add a note to the watch list about this NFT to say that I want the Claude to go do deep research about this, how it's performed maybe in the last week, and then derive a concise summary, and then save that note to that watch list. Okay, so can you, nice, let's say thank you, nice, working wonderfully. I want the ability to create a note now. So please expose that endpoint in the MCP server. Okay. This has gone a lot more smoothly than I thought it was going to be. Not that much debugging, but we haven't looked at a lot of the code, which is problematic, but I mean, we are vibe coding this out. Okay, so now we've got it. So I want to say, I've been tracking a Mad Lads NFT. I want you to do like maybe the last week of research on how it's performed. You can use the CoinGecko's API, but I also want you to do research on sentiment around the NFT to figure out how people are feeling about it. And then I want you to summarize that in a concise summary and then add that as a note to my NFT watch list. If you want, you have to do that because it doesn't have that tool yet because we have to refresh. Okay, we've got 50 tools now. Get watch list, add note to watch list. Okay, so let's paste that in. So now you should see the LLM. Ah, damn it. I didn't say put on deep research. Let's do that. Okay, so now it should do some research on it. Okay. Warming up the engines. How long are we going to be here for? But this is cool. I mean, this is pretty interesting because what we're doing now is we've created a watch list. We've gone and done deep research on some of the NFTs we track. Like I could track like Kleinosaurus. I could track, oh my gosh, what is the name called here? See, I haven't been looking at my NFTs. Okay, Bears. And then we can do like sentiment analysis by the LLM going doing research around that and coming back and determining and saving that note for future reference. Because you might do this, like one of the things I battle with a lot around all these different chats I have is I have these cool ideas and I do research around them. And then when I have to go find them again, it is extremely, extremely hard for me. Even the search here doesn't work for me. So I have all these ideas scattered around, and I wish there was an easy way for me to be able to find that information. But now, at least with our NFT watch list, we can save that information, go to a different chat every day when we feel like it, do research on our portfolio, save it as a note for the LLM to keep context across chats. Okay, so finish. Let's see what it did. Hey, it went to CoinGecko, researching Mad Lads, researching. I'm very excited to see what it comes up with. While it's doing that, if you guys want to kind of get started with a project, you can come here to docs.civic.com. We're doing really interesting stuff. Go through to the labs channel, look through all the stuff that we're doing. We're going to be releasing some really, really interesting stuff. I'm super excited about that. But if you want to kind of get started with like what we've done, I will open source this project as a submission if you guys want to take a look at it. But here is this guide. You can either read through the guide to get a good understanding of how it works, but also the source code is fully available by Dan. And you can get up and running. There's also a great video on this. So if you go to civic.com and you go to our a developer portal, you'll see how to set up an MCP server. And there's a video here you can watch. It's a great video. I highly suggest you watch it. Great. That's the advertising done. Let's go back to this. Okay, so it's gone through Mad Labs NFT. It's doing quite a bit of research. And then you can just kind of leave this, and then hopefully, like if the instructions are to the point, like it should be able to run through each of those steps. Doing the research, fetching your watch list. Well, let's take a step back. What it'll first do is fetch your watch list, determine what coins you have in your watch list, go do research about them, come back with the research, summarize that research, and then add that as a note to your watch list and then save that note. So that's like 6 or 7 steps that the LLM should be able to figure out how to do on its own. And that's the perfect example of like an agent. So you don't have to go and set up like these crazy workflows. You can just talk to it like you would in the assistant. So I've never really done research on Claude. I mainly do it through ChatGPT, but it can also take a really long time. So I'm super excited about the data it gets back from it. Anyway, should we add a different data? So we've got watch list, create watch list, add coin to watch list, add node to watch list, and get my watch lists. Okay, great. Is there anything else we had? Let's look at the types. Where's price data? Okay. We don't need any of this. I'm going to kind of remove it. What are you complaining about, my friend? Okay. Still complaining about what? Yeah. Still complaining about. Still complaining. What's this type here? So it went and did a bunch of this stuff that we don't necessarily need. That's why I was like, you have to be a bit more explicit in our instructions. Because it did a lot. Like, I mean, we could have been a lot better in telling the LLM to iterate, but it went and implemented all the methods. Like I would have liked to have defined the interface and maybe done a single method first, and then the next method, then the third, and then being able to test that whole pipeline. But I mean, it basically one-shotted the whole thing, which is really impressive. I mean, we're not doing like rocket science here, but okay, like I didn't say your Mad Labs entry mark is ready. Okay, I'm not going to read all of that. I'm going to say, can you develop me like a concise summary? And with that concise summary, I want you to add that as a note to save to my watch list so I can reference it in the future. So include all the relevant information that I might need to reference back and that you might need in the future in order to make better predictions. because we have an in-memory database, when I save that code, it refreshed, removed my watch list. So we should have a persistent database. Okay, cool. Key points. So in terms, do not add anything. Current floor, market price, which this note will help you in future conversations quickly. Okay, so let's test this out. This is pretty cool. Let's test this out. And let's go in here and say, can you retrieve my watch lists? And can you retrieve my watch lists and retrieve the note, tell me about that note, and tell me about any future market sentiments that are happening. Also use the CoinGecko API to determine what the current price is. And based on that information, I want a summary, so I might save a new note. But I just want you to present all that information to me first. You are kidding me. Okay. What are you retrieving here, my friend? Oh, brilliant. Look at that. So look at that. So in one step, it went and retrieved my watch lists. It called the CoinGecko API, got information about the NFT, is doing a search based on that information, and then it's creating a summary for me. That's really, like, sometimes LLMs just surprise me all the time, but that's awesome. Let's see if it's going to ask me if I want to save that. And that summary is massive. We should probably... Would you like me to help draft newcomers notes? Yes, please. This is pretty cool. Really, really cool. I mean, like eventually you could take these summaries and add them to like a vector database store, and then we could expose another endpoint for searching, and then finding specific notes at specific times. Could really get quite creative here. That's great. There was something else I was going to ask her to do now, but I completely forgot. But yeah, I think that's really good. Like, we really made a lot of progress here. We got quite far. So just recap what we did is we're using the Civic Auth MCP library that is available here. And we're using this to have the user log in so we can protect our Auth MCP server, which we're then proxying to the CoinGecko API. And we're doing that because we want to protect the API key when we start using the Pro license, right? And then we also, in the same MCP server, we're exposing the CoinGecko's tools, but we're also exposing our own MCP tools, which are tied to CoinGecko's, which allows us to create watch lists, save notes across different chats, and keeping the context around that. So we can have detailed reports about how our portfolio is doing every single day, saving that to an in-memory database, which you can easily switch out to a SQL database. So when we save code, it doesn't disappear. And you're allowed to get that context across different chats. So we've created like a comprehensive watch list. A watch list, we haven't tested this functionality, but I have a watch list public that you can then share with your friends as well. So they could say, what is your username? My name is Tyron. And then you could retrieve my watch list if I've made it public to determine like all my notes, which coins I'm watching, what my portfolio looks like. So you could learn and lean off of what I've done. And then yeah, like it's keeping completely detailed analysis. Like we never had to debug any of the code. Like this was pretty good. Like I must say, I'm pretty surprised as well. I thought we might get, but strung on the weeds. We didn't review a lot of the code, and the one thing I can say is the negative is that it wrote a lot of the code, but it did it because we came up with a quite a comprehensive spec up front. We didn't even spend a lot of time doing that. We spent maybe 5-10 minutes developing the spec. We pasted into here. We asked Cursor to review that spec and implement the methods. It went a little bit too far. My instructions weren't great, and but it got it working. Like it's really phenomenal to have like something like this up and running in what? I mean, I talked a lot in the beginning, but in like 50 minutes, 45 minutes, we only started implementing. I mean, that's pretty impressive, I must say. And I don't know if there are any other questions, but I will open source this project, submit it as a submission to the CoinGecko's API. I have to say thank you to them. They've got like their API is extensive. I mean, you can get really creative with everything that they offer. I haven't even touched the surface of everything that's available to us. So you can look here, like get asset platforms. I mean, I don't know half of these, but get coins history, get global, get ID NFTs, which it use, it lists NFTs. I don't know what all of them do, but you can go to CoinGecko's also website, plug in the MCP very quickly. It also has its own authentication. I just wanted to wrap it around ours so I could use that user object to like save watch list, for example. I'm not sure if you can do that with CoinGecko's API, but yeah, so like I really hope people are paying attention to what we're building, because we're really building some really cool stuff. And if you ever want to secure your MCP in the future, please use our library. You can reach out, come to our Slack channel, ask any questions. And I'm really excited to see what you build. We're actually running a hackathon at the moment, so reach out to us as well. So thank you very, very much. I'm going to go in here and close this out.